Hi, I'm Aidan, and I am the writer and director of the Last Sonnet Visions.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I play Caleb Welsh in this film.
And I am Tanner, and I was the actor for Jeremy, as well as the songwriter for the soundtrack.
Yeah, when we started this film, it was kind of just really like quick thing, and I wasn't even sure if I was gonna finish this all the way, but then kind of a lot of things came into place, right? And then Tanner was able to make music, and then we figured out schedules and
Yeah,
whatnot.
definitely fell into place right. I'm
Yeah.
curious, would
For sure.
would you think that obviously this film is quite a deviation from your last project, which is the 003, where
And Script for Life.
Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like you've been going a bit more of an emotional kind of introspective direction recently. What kind of has caused that?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of it is influenced from my life, which like I've been facing a lot of difficulty, right? And I think the fascinating thing about this movie is that it kind of grew with me
Mm-hmm.
in a way, like because in the beginning, right, the original cut, I think it leans more a little bit narcissistic towards the end, where it's almost like life doesn't have much meaning and
Or
who cares.
Nihilist.
Yeah, nihilist. That's the word I meant.
It's
Yeah,
okay. The same thing. Nihilism is very narcissistic.
yeah. But so a lot of that stuff influenced the film, and yeah, as you can see on the screen, yeah, we also got Luke Herchuk. He's a good friend of mine, and he also was involved to do like a shoot for one day. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Fun fact about the train scenes here. Tanner and Aiden had to go on one train, and I had to go into another, so then we could meet, and then we could film me walking out of the train here.
I remember the worst part about this was that you didn't know if the train would arrive at the left or the right side of the
Yeah.
train station, so you kind of had to guess. And then
yeah,
sometimes Nate would end up on the opposite side, and we'd
yeah.
just meet him, and then we'd be like, "Oh, there goes the shot."
Yeah, it's also
Yeah.
funny how many random people were just in the shots, like this lady in the back, and it's just like, well, you're in the film now.
Yeah, but you can see they're pretty ambiguous.
Yeah,
There's definitely
yeah,
most of the focus on Caleb as the character, and everybody else is pretty
Yeah.
secluded.
yeah.
Should we talk about the slight security incidents?
Yeah, so what happened was we started filming, and because it was funny because at the beginning they didn't really say anything at the mall, and they were like, "Oh, you know what? It's cool, right?" And then towards the evening, we started kind of I think as Tanner said, we kind of moved in like a film crew way. So the security guard was like, "You can't do photography here," and I'm like, I literally filmed the whole glass bridge scene.
Yeah, which will
Um,
come up.
So
yeah.
so I guess they eventually caught on. Like we were getting more into it, so we were acting more like we were actually like filming something and not just like a bunch of dumb young adults just making Instagram videos or something.
Yeah. Fun fact about this scene on screen though is this is entirely ad libbed. Probably most people will
Pretty
be able to
much.
tell, but it is funny because we kept laughing, and in the blooper reel there's a guy literally screaming in the background.
There was like a plane or something
Yeah.
at some
Oh,
point. I
there's
can't
always
remember.
planes because I mean
Yeah.
the house that we shot at literally is
Yeah.
right beside an airport. So every 15
Shout out
minutes
to
or so,
Purelator.
yeah.
Oh.
Shout out to Purelator.
That's super random, but all right. Yeah. I wanted to reference one more thing about the SkyTrain. One continuity thing that I found a little funny was the SkyTrain was a different one the one that Nate got off and the one he got on. The one he got on I think was white, but if you pay attention, it actually has an advertisement, and I didn't have another shot of that.
Shh, they'll never know until they watch this conversation.
Yeah. Also, the original cut for this, Nate actually puts the recorder on the table, but I realized that
Oh, you took that out.
it's in the room with him later, so I was like, that doesn't make logical
It
sense.
teleported.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the CGI there's some CGI in that light ray when Alicia, who's the actress for Allie, that light ray that she walks into is artificial. Some of the light rays here are actually not real. So
That is
fun
honestly crazy because it looks so natural.
yeah.
There's definitely like some moments throughout the film where there's like obvious CGI, especially when you see coming up like the portal scene. Of course, that's CGI, or like the hologram is of course CGI. But then there's these subtle moments where you've like touched up the shot,
Yeah.
and even I didn't notice it until you pointed
Yeah.
those out.
And it's also kind of funny because the house we used for that, we uprooted a lot of furniture. It's actually Nate's house.
Yep.
So
We had to move some furniture.
Yeah.
Definitely, the living room doesn't
Yeah,
look
that
like
was,
that
kinda
in
crazy.
any day.
I love how many times we did this take, and the funniest thing was at one point in the blooper reel, like Nate actually, when he's throwing the bottle here, actually throws it at Tanner. But also the other thing no one else will know is that the bottle smashed open one time
Oh yeah.
and then Nate was literally taking dirty mints, so his breath was like pretty fresh.
It was probably over fresh. I
That's-
committed overstimulation on my breath.
That's another fun fact. That's not drugs. That's mints.
Yes, we
Yeah.
were using mints. We weren't actually using
Yeah.
drugs. Obviously.
They're actually supposed to be antidepressants according to the plot. Also, this website here was actually I actually made this, and
You can
fun
look that-
fact,
you can
you
look
you
at that
can
raw.
actually find this website. So
Yeah.
I keep
So it's
it
canon.
online, so you can find it as an Easter egg if you're into that. It
Yes.
does actually. It is live. So,
Oh, you didn't put any phone numbers in the
yeah,
phone number Easter eggs? Are you gonna do that for your
I
next film?
decided not. I think actually I haven't thought about that, but I learned in film there's an area code. It's like 555 is the film area code. So
Nice.
yeah.
We had to pay real money to go onto the SkyTrain here. With the Compass cards.
Wow, shocker.
Did you count this in your tax files?
No, I didn't.
Business expenses?
No, I count this as volunteer work.
Yeah, this shot's actually earlier in the day, and a lot of these were kind of merged from like night and day shooting because we didn't have a whole lot of time to do this.
Yeah.
But they'll never know until we say it.
Yeah, I think anyone who rides the SkyTrain in Vancouver will actually know that this is.
Are you visible in
not-
any of these glass shots?
Coming up.
Because
it
I was
might be.
wondering if you were.
If
when
you
we're walking.
look at the glass really, really carefully right here, you can see me and Tanner in the background. It's really hard because the pan goes quite quick.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay, I was
visible.
wondering if like right in
Yeah,
the
here
shot
you can
see it.
technically see us, but the other thing that kind of
Oh yeah, I can
helps
see them.
was there's actually people inside at the bar, so
Okay,
it
yeah.
could
Yeah.
be them, you know?
One thing I want to say about this area again, because this is like a
that's so
very
beautiful.
kind of like well-known area in Burnaby, is that with the color grading, it's doing some real heavy lifting, like changing the environment. It doesn't quite feel the same
Yeah.
as when you experience it in person.
Yeah.
Even then, the
compliments
landscape.
again to the color grading.
Yeah, thanks.
The landscape, even that
Yeah.
is.
I think what was really cool was the glass before color grading definitely looks really different. I kind of gave it almost like a teal color, which kind of gives it more personality than just the standard clear look. So, yeah. Random fun fact about the recorder. That's Ali's recorder. It was actually given to me from BCIT. And actually, that's part of how this whole story came about. So here's some of the
That shot's
CGI.
cool.
Yeah, the CGI. Hold up. What was I talking about? I forgot. What I
You're
was
talking about how the recorder was given to you at BCI.
Oh yeah.
Or during the research.
That's actually where part of this story forms, because I had another story and it was like a romantic story, and it was during film class a few years back, but I could never complete it. But then riding on the SkyTrain every day, and looking at this recorder that was given to me, this is kind of where this whole idea, because my first spark was, oh, what if this recorder could open a portal? And that's kind of how the story actually started from the base
Yeah.
for script writing. Also, this is probably won't surprise most people. This is an iPad. It is not a laptop, so it doesn't have a USB port. But
It
I
looks like
cleverly
that.
hid it right behind, and it does make a sort of clink sound when Nate taps it. So
Fun fact: Alicia recorded all these recordings and stuff. I guess there's one recording at my house. So I did a bit of recording work. For
yeah,
This.
so he gets credited for that at the end
Yeah.
too.
A little bit of credit.
Yeah. Also
Those are fake
the
tears,
file,
by the
yeah, the
Oh yeah, one funny thing about Nate's acting is that every single shoot we did, something was like just absolutely painful for him. It was either like covering him in blood or putting like tears in his eyes, or like the mint thing.
yeah,
mint thing, or like me getting hit against the cabinet here by
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
And then I just spend most of the
Bro's
shoot kind
absolutely
of sitting on the
spoiling the
side
plot.
reading
I
scripts
did. I
and stuff.
took a bit of a beating for this film, but I mean,
Yeah.
I also got to like put chloroform on your mouth, like not real
Not
chloroform,
actually.
and drag you around later on in this extended version of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, so on the iPad earlier though, there's also that file recovery. It is also programmed by me. So yeah, that's also kind of
Our
another
director
feedback.
here is a multi-talented, multifaceted individual.
Yeah, I even did the subtitles.
Oh, so you okay? I didn't know if these were auto-generated or you actually took the time to write
I
them.
took the AI auto-generated subtitles from YouTube and I kind of refined it because
Okay.
there was it kept saying Ally's name asAlly, and I was
Yeah.
like, that doesn't
Ally.
Ally.
We're storming the beach of Normandy.
Austin and Allie.
Yeah. Also, Nate noted here that when Tanner yells everything, he did not expect him to like yell. I don't think anyone expected Tanner to just like he was going all in, like especially here where like Tanner's eyes, he just looks like a villain.
I jumped
Well-
during one of the recordings when he said everything. I'm like, I'm gonna keep that in as part of the shot.
I mean, when I did musical theater, I was always cast as the villain if I got a big
Yeah.
role. So I guess I keep on getting those.
He just
Yeah.
he
You can see the
Tanner-
fake blood here too.
Tanner's like one of those actors where like they see him do one role and they're like, okay, this is the role we need to do for every film, every production.
Yeah.
This is where the extension of the film starts.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have
Another
Liam.
we have Liam Marsh, who's yeah, I don't know, he's actually Tanner's brother in real life.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So
And
that's-
he's his
yeah.
brother in the film.
Do we know that? Is that
Wait,
canon?
Didn't he mention that in the film?
I'm not sure if he did.
Oh, did you cut that line
did-
out?
This is
more.
I think I did cut that out because I wasn't sure if the connection would make sense, but
Okay.
I guess too much to
Oh,
explain.
yeah, it was too
Yeah.
much to explain in too little time. So
We could explain it in a prequel film.
Yeah.
If we do that.
I think what's funny too is this hologram. While I was working with the guys, I let them know that like this hologram of Liam was more intensive to render than the portal, which sounds crazy and also kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that is pretty insane.
Because
It looks simpler.
yeah, in DaVinci Resolve, I had the rotoscope, but it's very, very resource intensive, so it takes forever.
hmm
And I was telling Nate that if you shift it, I don't know why, it just deletes the entire like rotoscope, and you have to do it from the beginning. I was like, so I kept having to repeat it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Also, the recorder beeps, they are added in post. They're actually not live on set. Yeah, so lots of sound effects added. Yeah,
Unfortunately, you can't really hear it too much in the commentary. But
yeah,
if you watch the actual film,
Yes.
the actual
you'll hear the
film.
soundtrack,
If you watch
the
the film-
sound design. There's a lot of elements going
If you
on
watch
in
the
it.
film in the proper way, yes.
in the proper way without us talking over it.
without us yapping on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without our needless talking.
Okay.
Ooh,
Here's
portal.
another portal shot.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact
Now
about this
that's
shot.
cool.
The color of the light is actually just a standard like white camping lantern.
Yep.
I actually selectively color graded it to be teal. So yeah, learning that was really helpful because before I had to get the film light to be teal, and now I can kind of just do it in post.
Yeah. Another fun fact,
I did not use chloroform.
that too, but that's not one match. That's me like holding like 5 matches at once. 'cause
But yeah,
I
to
couldn't
make it more
I
effective,
think
right?
burn
you
right
can see it
under
here
the-
a little bit.
Yeah.
It looks like 2 matches though, so to be fair, you kind of got away with it.
Yeah.
We actually had a little pit of rocks, and Tanner actually like dropped the match while it was lit
Yeah.
onto these rocks multiple times.
Yeah.
I was kind of afraid of the house actually burning a bit, but
We also spent like 15 minutes having me drag Tanner around, and my arms were.
Yeah.
And he's a muscular man, right? So
Yeah.
my arms were a little tired by the end of it.
Yeah. So, also, fun fact, this shot is shot earlier in the day, so it looks a little bit brighter. Also, this random flashback is actually thrown in a little bit last minute. I kind of made a last minute decision to kind of reference that because of the parallel between Caleb picking up the knife and Jeremy. The night to day transition is really fun here, and
Yeah.
again, you get those artificial light rays, which are really cool.
Can
really,
I circle
like,
back
really
to
light alley up.
Can I circle back to something that you were talking about
Yeah.
just back there? You were saying that some of the stuff was rushed. I know that after this film, you're taking a bit of a hiatus. Over that time, are you planning to like carefully render a new script, maybe a different story? Are you planning to kind of like take more time and really have a linear story before you film your next project?
I think for me, I think what makes this new cut a lot better is the fact that I had a year to think about the second half.
Yeah.
Which kind of helped me to develop it more. Yeah. But I want to quickly reference a lot of these shots are actually done in the same in Allie's like house, which is actually Tanner's house in real life.
Yep.
Yep.
We
Most
also
of
filmed
these,
all these
yeah,
the same day.
these are candids too.
Yeah.
There was no script given it. This one is
This
actually
is scripted.
this one's scripted from the original part 2 script idea. The original
Yes.
was Allie was gonna come back and Caleb was gonna rescue her out of the timeline, but I felt that was really disrespectful to the first half, so
Yeah.
I felt like to make it correlate better and not do the Disney happily ever after, I felt like
We need
it
to
was
make this real.
necessary to do that. Yeah, make it a bit more realistic.
That is a real knife, though. We used a real knife for some shots.
Yeah, probably should have made it dull like they do in the film industry, but we skipped that.
Yeah. It's
Not a
okay.
low
No one
budget.
actually got hurt.
Yeah.
No one got hurt according to anything
Yeah.
we broke
Fun
down.
little thing. The light here though is the flickering or the sort of pulsing is practical. And originally I was kind of a little bit upset at that, but I realized since it's a hologram, it's actually okay for it to be a bit choppy, and it
That's
kind
right.
of fits with the flickering that I did in post. So I kind of ended up leaning into it because at first I was like, oh man, this is really like trash, you know. But then I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good.
I like it. It
So-
adds more dynamics.
Yeah.
To it.
And then the static thing, most people will not know this, but in post, it was actually because I couldn't figure out a good transition because I was trying to cut forward in Liam's line, but I didn't want people to know that it was transitioning forward, so I had a bit of a static transition there.
Genius ball knowledge move.
Yeah. So this is also CGI. The mirror back there, I had to put a second portal and tone down like the opacity just to kind of, because I was like, shoot, I shot this in front of like a window and I'm like, I gotta give her a reflection, otherwise people are gonna like, that's super fake.
The things you don't think about behind the camera, but you think about behind the computer.
Yeah,
Fun
this
fact about that shot about Allie there. Aidan would have made it longer, but his computer was dying and overheating.
the portal.
So
Yeah, the portal. I
The
wanted
portal,
I
yeah.
wanted to make it 5 seconds, but the portal was just like I did like this transition where it morphs it, and if you pay attention, you can actually see it if you play it in slow motion, but it's really hard to see. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess, what's like your overall take from all this project that you've put on? Like,
I think for me, I would consider this my best work so far.
Mhm.
And truthfully, I think part of it was kind of getting it wrong at first, maybe, but and not knowing how to end it. But I think overall it'll influence a lot of the future projects I do, and I think because Tanner asked whether or not I was going to explore other things, I think I'm going to explore closer to more short form content, like maybe not full 20-30 minutes, because
like sketches.
I'm not sure if I would say sketches, but maybe like 5 to 10 minute, like, you know, like shorter films.
more
Okay.
conventional short film.
Mini
like-
films.
Yeah.
Mini
So
films.
because I think I was joking with Nate. I spent a lot of budget on this because the microphone kind of just went like it, in like the first flashback with Allie and Caleb, the microphone actually started crackling because the cable kind of like totally messed up. So I had to buy a new microphone, and the camera at the end of this got a red pixel, and so I had to sell it and replace it. So I think a lot of this has changed my direction, and I'm going like, I think financially, I think I do need to take a step back. Oh yeah, fun thing. Aidan Bourne is mentioned here. I just want to give a shout out to him because he provided the trench coat for Liam, and just a fun Easter egg that most people won't know. And New Wave Oceans is also me.
Aiden Square.
It's your music alias.
Yes.
Yeah,
Music alias.
yeah,
New Emotions is great. You guys should go listen to his music.
yeah. Anyways,
Wish I knew him.
yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching the film, guys, and yeah. Hope you have a great day. You know, yeah. You guys want to say anything?
Watch it, enjoy it, and anticipate the future of focal fields.
Live for Jesus.